UFC Macau just recently wrapped up, and I'm going to recap the entire card. It was a super early stream, 3 a.m. for the UFC and for me, but it was actually a banger fight night. I feel like this was a card on like American primetime hours. It would have had like a ton of traction leading up to Saturday, but obviously being more of an international focused event, it didn't have the same push in the US, but I feel like it was one of the best fight nights of the year. So I'm excited to talk about all the matchups on it. Make sure you guys smash the likes, and if you're new, subscribe. Let's first start with our card opener, Nikolas Motta versus Maheshate. It was actually a really good back and forth fight. Motta was clearly better. He rocked Maheshate at the end of round one to steal back the round after being dropped by a knee. Maheshate would have good moments in the fight, but Nikolas Motta would have the substantially better ones. He was the guy landing the damaging shots and like getting close to a finish. And you could kind of see that Maheshate was at times hesitant to bang on the inside because he knew Motta's power was legit. He looked good. Nikolas Motta looked as good as ever. He gets a unanimous decision over Maheshate. He lands clean shots that caused multiple moments where Maheshate was on wobbly legs. He got dropped himself early, but it was with a knee. Nikolas Motta, I feel like, fun knockout artist at the bottom end of the lightweight division. From how he looked initially starting his UFC career, it seemed like he was going to end up getting released. And, now going out there and getting a unanimous decision against Maheshate, who at one point was like a highly touted, up-and-coming striker. Now, the hype has dwindled down with 3 L's and Nikolas Motta dropping him multiple times. But I still feel like it's a solid win. I'm curious to see Nikolas Motta versus like Slava Claus. I feel like that would be a cool fight. Both got wins over Maheshate. And I don't know. I'm just kind of curious about the matchup. Not so sure if Slava's booked. I'm not going to check right now. But he might be. If he's not booked, though, maybe a fight with Nikolas Motta at some point in 2025 is a cool prelim fight or like a main card opener for a fight night. Let's keep running up. Next one, Long Xiao. He essentially exposed Quang Li. In the first round, Quang Li was able to land some decent strikes, but like he was getting overwhelmed with Long Xiao's volume. There was like a difference in amount of shots landed. Long Xiao was just throwing a lot. It was in his face. It's like Long Xiao seemed as if he had no worry of gassing out. Whereas on the side of Quang Li, I don't want to say he was worried about gassing per se, but he didn't have the same confidence to match a high volume pressure attack of Long Xiao. He would land good and clean shots early on, but then, Long Xiao would throw several more and start to find his openings, and it's like Quang just couldn't keep up the pace, and he ends up getting dropped badly with a straight right to the temple, I believe. It says right hook and hammer fist. Well, a right hand to the temple. Quang Li goes down, little ground and pound. Referee jumps in and stops it. I think that Long Xiao is pretty damn tough. I mean, if you compare Quang Li on short notice, 29-28 with Chris Gutierrez, Long Xiao stops him in pretty vicious fashion and wins the majority of the fight. I feel like this is a pretty eye-opening win for Long Xiao, man. I think he could actually make a decent move up at only 26 years old. He looked pretty solid, and its only loss in the UFC is the road to UFC finale, Chang Ho Lee on a split decision. He showed power, which is something that I liked from him. His volume definitely is high level. He's a pressure-style fighter, and he's a guy that keeps up a very high pace that a lot of dudes can't keep up with, man. His fitness is off this fucking chain. It's out of this damn world, man. And I like what I saw from Long Xiao. Congrats on the W. Quang Li gang, Bang Li crew. Unfortunately, they might be on their way out. I don't know if Quang Li's going to get another UFC fight. It was a bad loss here. Could get called up for one more. He's a fun style, but at 33, I think his promise is pretty minimal. Next fight, Launer Kavanagh versus Jose Ochoa. Kavanagh got tested in this fight. He definitely won, but he got tested a bit. First round, striking looks good. He's incredibly slick. He's got really good speed. He mixes up leg kicks well alongside of his stand-up. The boxing is pretty good, like the hands. And I think that his striking overall is really clean. I like his footwork, too. He's like in and out of range really fast. He seems like he's got a ton of potential. And he was like doing really well for a vast majority of the fight. And then Jose Ochoa like hurt him a bit with the body shot, ends up getting to his back. It's like he's thinking about maybe he's going to get rear naked choked. Survived though, and then is able to win round 3, touching Ochoa with good shots. Had him busted up, right? There was a lot more damaging strikes to the face done from Kavanagh to Ochoa as opposed to the contrary. But Ochoa's actually a pretty good up-and-comer. I mean, he's only 27. I think his ceiling is pretty high too. Taking a big fight against one of the most legit prospects at flyweight who's got a lot of potential and has fought good opposition time in and time out. I think this is like a relatively good loss for Ochoa. He's in the UFC now. I think he can beat, some back-end guys at flyweight, and I still think he's somebody to keep around. I definitely don't think the UFC is going to be rushing to cut a 5'7", 23-year-old that has some serious promise. Kavanagh looked nice, man, but Ochoa looked decent. Like, Ochoa had a good moments in the fight. I respect Ochoa. He doesn't quit on himself. He keeps coming. Kavanagh was just technically superior, and he's really fast, and he's athletic, and I feel like his fight IQ is pretty high for a young guy. So I expect Leonard Kavanagh to have a decent UFC career. I think he'll be around for a bit. I do think they need to keep it slow, though. Don't rush him up the ranks too fast, right? You could end up killing his confidence. I think if they're investing in him, which I'm assuming they will, give him at 25, maybe a 1-0 or 0-1 guy, or even a 1-1 fighter in the UFC, or potentially a debuting guy again. Leonard Kavanagh, nice win. Competitive fight with Ochoa. But he showcased good stand-up. The kid's clean. There's a lot of things to like about his striking, man. Let's keep running. Next fight, Carlos Hernandez versus Naim Jargal Tumendemberel. The split decision was weird. I scored it 2-1, favoring Hernandez. But I think Naim Jargal Tumendemberel, I believe it was the first round where he dropped Hernandez. I thought he stole that round because of the late knockdown. But ultimately, like, Hernandez was winning more of the round. It's just the much bigger moment was for Naim Jargal Tumendemberel. And then round number 2, Hernandez with some grappling control, which was nice. Round 3, competitive striking. Hernandez, I think, landing a bit cleaner with decent pressure. It was competitive, though. Like, it was a close fight. It was a 29-28, but it wasn't a split, I don't think. I thought Hernandez definitely did enough to win. Tumendemberel is known as art of knockout, but I feel like he's much more of a submission threat. He hasn't like showcased huge power. He's still a really young guy, though. I guess he's only 26. Losing to Carlos Hernandez on split decision is not a bad way to start your UFC career, but I just really didn't feel like this was a split decision. I was worried they were going to rob Hernandez, who I thought had clearly won the fight. So I'm glad that it didn't go the wrong direction just because, Tumendemberel's from that side of the world, being in China for this event. They give it to the American, and Hernandez's veteran experience came in handy here. The grappling control was nice. I like what I saw. The pressure boxing was nice. The avoiding of shots was nice and making it a scrap and a higher pace fight. He did his thing. Carlos Hernandez, a deserving win, gives Tumendemberel his first loss. Hard to come in to the UFC and beat a 5-fight plus veteran who's actually fought good opposition. So Carlos Hernandez, nice performance. Nice win. Next fight, it started off the road to UFC finales, which closed out the prelims. First up, Ming absolutely chins Xiaocan Feng. It was sad. To be honest with you, I was sad for Xiaocan because if you look how round 1 and 2 went, she was looking clean on the feet. She looked like she had the fight. I was like, all right, she's en route to a 30-27. Picking her apart, moving, defending takedowns, reversing, getting on top. I thought it was a Xiaocan Feng fight. And then Ming does the unthinkable. She lands a disgusting high kick to the chin of Xiaocan Feng and flattens her. Like Usman Edwards level nasty. I don't know. I feel like this was nastier just because of the surprise. But I guess that was a huge surprise too. Because it's women's MMA, right? You don't think of high kick knockouts that often. I can't remember the last high kick knockout. I know Bruna Brazil got one. I think it was on Contender though. Trying to think. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you can think of a recent high kick knockout in women's MMA. Ming ends up pulling off a crazy upset. Which is crazy about Ming is she's a damn doctor. And by day, she's a doctor. By night, she's a fighter. And her parents have no idea that she fights MMA. They don't just know she's in the UFC. They don't even know she does MMA. That's crazy. That's funny as hell. Talk about not needing the parents' approval. She's a savage, man. She's like, listen, I don't care. I'm doing. If she tells her parents, they probably would shut her dreams down. So she's like, I don't need to say nothing. They don't need to know my business. I'm just doing martial arts. Yeah, I'm wearing the gi. I'm breaking boards and shit. But really, she's breaking chins. She dropped Xiaocan Feng. I was making a joke on live stream. She's a doctor by day. She actually works at the same hospital Xiaocan Feng is going to be staying at after the knockout loss. And Ming, she's got a shift she's picking up later tonight. So she'll be the attending doctor for her. I think that Ming Shi is a tough girl, based upon heart, catch wrestling style, but gets the high kick knockout. But I'll tell you straight, I don't think she's going to the top in the UFC. I felt like Xiaocan Feng had top 15 potential. She still might. The thing is, that loss could be hard to come back from. She got stretchered out of the damn arena, yo. Wasn't like she just got dropped, flash KO'd, got right up. No, she was down for like 4 minutes. Like, she could have a chin that's gone. She could lose confidence. I don't know. I would love to see Xiaocan Feng get another chance in the UFC because she's a good prospect. But a knockout loss like that is one that could definitely kill confidence. And who knows, like, the long-term physical effects. Ming Shi with a violent upset. She's the queen of the upset. Next one, Dong Hoon Choi. He destroyed Kiru Sahota. Bro, the Indian fighters just can't put it together inside of the damn UFC. Dong Hoon Choi overhand flatlines Sahota in round 1. I can't say that I'm surprised. Being 5'10 in the flyweight division, I just feel like that's kind of a recipe for bad durability. Having no muscle mass on you, cutting a lot of weight. Like, how you going to deal with a short guy with good speed who's nasty on the inside, and you're sitting in there and swinging wild, too? Sahota, he's, like, too comfortable in close range. He's too comfortable mixing it up on the inside. Being 5'10", bro, he should just be jabbing, slipping, and moving all night, but he's willing to brawl, and that's why he got starched. Dong Hoon Choi with a violent knockout. Absolutely sensational KO. A night of violent KOs. This one was one of them, and shit. The new gloves that the UFC's using, shit, they didn't look any bit softer. They didn't look like they were limited knockouts on this card. Dong Hoon Choi with a clean KO, flattens Sahota, gets a UFC contract, and he's a fun prospect too. He showed some charisma in that post-fight. Next one, Su Young Yu, Balgan Jella Issa. Su Young Yu controlled with the grappling. I thought he got 2 rounds to 1. Was able to wrestle well. Striking looked fine. Timed some takedowns, got on top. You know, he's the patenter of Jiu-Jitsu. I guess that's like his form of Jiu-Jitsu. He's a black belt in BJJ, has a freestyle wrestling base. So he's, he's a pretty well-touted prospect. I don't know. Round 3, he lost, though, and Balgan actually took him down and got on top. So the hype is Su Young Yu is like the South Korean Habib. That's the hype they be putting on him. But I feel like the reality of it is that he's decent with wrestling for sure, but I don't know. I hate the comparisons to Habib, and then he's getting taken down and, hit in the face from top position. But still, good win for Su Young Yu. He wins the, Road to UFC finale at bantamweight. Compared to the other 2 fights, this one definitely had a high level of disappointment. It didn't move the needle like the last one did. The last 2 really were absolutely sensational finishes. This one, technical display. Congrats to you getting a UFC contract. And Jella Issa was tough, but I don't know, a little too much or too little too late, right? Too much early on from you and then too little too late for Balgan. Let's jump to the main card. If you guys haven't yet, smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. Let's talk this fight. Mingyang Zhang, Ozzy Diaz. Mingyang Zhang is that guy. Elbow drops Ozzy Diaz and he finishes him with ground and pound. I believe it was a left elbow, lead elbow. Let's check. Doesn't say, but I think so. I see it in my head. Zhang's striking looks clean. He took his time. He got an early knockout, so how much time did he need? When I say he took his time, I mean it more as he took his time in picking the shot, but it didn't take much time for him to finish Ozzy Diaz. Less than half a round, and he put Ozzy Diaz to bed with a first-round KO. The dude's got loads of first-round KOs. Is it all wins by first-round KO? Commentary was saying that. 12 wins. Wow, all finishes in the first round. He's never won a fight that goes to the second round. That's crazy. Mingyang Zhang is a really fun talent. At 26, I feel like he's got a crazy future at light heavyweight. And he's already making calls for the top 15. I mean, he can strike with a lot of those guys. I don't know how his wrestling defense will be. They say he gets rounds in with Sean Strickland and Ankalaev, so I have to say I would assume that he can mix it up in all areas pretty well. But in the striking, he seems to have a very good punch, a very good elbow, but a very good understanding of timing. His precision is very high. And that's why I think he has a high ceiling in the UFC light heavyweight division. A division filled with a lot of strikers. I mean, the champion's a striker, right? And I think a striker like Mingyang Zhang with good timing could do relatively well. And I look forward to more. Granted, the two guys he beat, Brentson Ibero is a bigger test than Ozzy Diaz, right? So beating Brentson Ibero in the debut is, like, relatively speaking, more impressive competition than Diaz. I don't know. He called Tom 15. I don't know about that next. I think they'll turn the buckle up of opposition just a bit, though. You have to. Off the top of my head, I'm not thinking of a name. I was hoping one would just come to me, but, like, I don't think you give him Ryan Spann next or something like that. Like, I don't think you rush him to that level of guy. But I think give him someone, you know, outside of the top 15, but better than a debuting Ozzy Diaz or even, like, you know, a decent brawler like Brentson Ibero. I think he deserves someone with a little more talent, a little more of a name. And I think his ceiling is very high. But at 26, he really doesn't have to rush to the top. But having, you know, 24 pro fights already, I guess he's like, listen, I want top 15 right now. I've been fighting for years. Sign me up. I'm interested. Just, you know, one more fight before top 15 at least. But I like to call out a Pereira. I like to call out of the top 15. He's definitely saying the right things, and he's a marketable talent at light heavyweight who, I don't know, even though he doesn't speak much English, he's got a lot of charisma, and I think he can definitely garner a big American fan base. I'll be tuning in. I mean, I'm tuning into every card anyways, but I'll specifically be looking at Mingyang Zhang's career. I'm excited to see how it unfolds. Next fight, Carlos Ulberg, Volkan Oezdemir. Carlos Ulberg picked Volkan Oezdemir apart for 3 rounds. Aside from a couple of decent punches in close range, and, like, you know, Oezdemir had some success with leg kicks, Ulberg rocked him a couple of times, touched him up with punches from the outside, good jabs. Carlos Ulberg has a very good understanding of distance, and his movement is good. That's something that I really liked leading into this fight, which, you know, I put him in the lock parlay of the week, Ulberg, and the over 2.5 in the Ricci and Xiaocan fight, because I really felt like Ulberg's is a lock because he can move really well, whereas Oezdemir doesn't have that same mobility. He works a nice jab. He strikes well from the outside. His timing is good. His takedown defense is good. He's very comfortable in striking fights, and it seems like his takedown defense is good. Historically speaking, city kickboxing guys have good wrestling defense, and Carlos Ulberg is no exception. Carlos Ulberg, it seems like he's poised to move up. He was, wasn't he scheduled? He was supposed to fight Roundtree or Hill? I forget. But he was scheduled for a big fight. I believe it was Ulberg versus Hill was scheduled for that McGregor card. Obviously, it didn't happen, even the McGregor fight. And then injury, fight got canceled, whatnot. I think Ulberg could potentially be scheduled to fight somebody like a Jamal Hill if they're looking to move him fast. Now, if they're looking for availability, wants a quick turnaround, I don't know. Azamat Mirzakhanov and Nikita Krylov got canceled recently, and I don't think there's been a rebooking, but I could be wrong. Maybe Krylov next, because Krylov also beat Oezdemir, and Krylov has good wrestling, which is going to be interesting to see how Ulberg deals with that. But I like Ulberg versus Jamal Hill. I just don't know if Jamal will be crazy about it. I like Ulberg versus Roundtree. I like Ulberg versus Yuri Prohashka. I feel like Carlos Ulberg is a really fun guy to watch, and, like, you got to get him a big fight next. He seems poised to make a real run for the belt. I feel like if he goes out there, let's say he fought a Jamal Hill and he starched him, it's like probably title fight. His style is also super marketable. I know the UFC would love to make Carlos Ulberg, if he wins, like maybe 1 or 2 more, they would love to do a striker's delight between 2 high-level kickboxers, him and Pereira. He's not far away from it. And I'm excited to see if maybe in 2025 he makes that real championship statement, because I truly believe he has the skills to go far. I mean, you look at Oezdemir, he loses to high-level guys. He lost to Krylov, but Krylov had a wrestling edge on him, right? In striking, Oezdemir lost to Prohashka. He lost to Ankalaev. The guys that he's losing to on the feet as of recent, like somewhat recent, are champions. And I think that Ulberg has that championship potential. His mobility is really nice, and he's one of the faster guys at light heavyweight. Definitely I would say arguably the fastest guy, but definitely one of the fastest guys at least. And I'm excited to see what Ulberg can do amongst the true elites of the weight class after beating somebody very good like Volkan Oezdemir. Next fight. This was a historic level upset. Gabriela Fernandes beat Wang. Wang was the most hyped prospect in women's MMA. She was the woman who beat Valentina Shevchenko and seemed like she was on the path to become a top contender in 2025. Even in the first round, she looked clean. It was like, damn, she can stop takedowns. She's moving slick. Like, yeah, she didn't get the knockout in the first round, but she was beating Gabriela Fernandes. But Gabriela Fernandes is made of steel. There was interesting striking exchanges. I still think Wang was winning, but Fernandes was not giving up on herself. She was still throwing hard. Fernandes lands a head kick. The head kick is caught by Wang, but it had hit her clean on the chin. She's then looking for a takedown. Fernandes ripping wide shots, catches her with a hook. Wang goes down, and Fernandes locks in the rear naked choke and submits her in the second round. As a massive underdog and someone who was losing the fight, it was also a comeback. This is some historic shit. Beating a favorite like Wang, who I really believe had all MMA fans like, yeah, that at least hardcore is like, yeah, that's the girl that could make it to top 15. Gabriela Fernandes beating her is a massive surprise. Like, that wasn't supposed to happen. Granted, the fight game's not about what's supposed to happen. It's about what does, and that's what's fun. Fernandes also, I guess her sister died in the lead up to the fight. And I'm telling you, that was a spiritual win. She had a little extra force. That was crazy. That's a massive upset. She keeps her UFC job. I mean, I don't know if she would have got cut losing to Wang, but definitely wouldn't be in the UFC's priority. But beating Wang now, being on a 2-fight win streak and upsetting the prospect, I mean, this is huge. This is huge for Gabriela Fernandes. Wang, she's going to be sent back kind of far, but I was thinking about it. And I was like, you know what? Even though she lost this fight, is she not going to find success in other fights? Her striking's phenomenal. She got caught. I still think she's good. I think she'll still have a lot of hype on her with her comeback fight. And unless she loses all confidence, I still believe she could at least do decent inside of the UFC. I thought that someone with good grappling would get her. I didn't think Fernandes would catch her with a high kick and then drop her and then sub her. Wang takes the L to Gabriela Fernandes in an insane upset. And her striking was looking smooth. She's training striking with Zabit's coach, Zabit Magomed Sharapov's. Wow. She's so clean on the feet, too. She's so promising, man. But Fernandes is powerful, and she can strike, too. She's not a bad striker. I've always thought Fernandes is decent, but shit. To go out and beat Wang, who was the up-and-coming talent that everybody was watching. Wow. Wow. I'm still shocked. Wow. Finish for Fernandes. Wang didn't tap. I think she went to sleep, too, with the rear naked choke. Respect. Respect, Gabriela Fernandes. Holy shit. Busted prospect in that fight. But I still want to see more from Wang. I'm not writing her off yet. I think she overlooked Fernandes, too. The commentary was saying, she said in the lead, oh, this girl's as slow as my nan. Saying she's as slow as my grandma. And, like, I think she was surprised she didn't knock her out in the first round. And that's when she lost focus. You can't overlook anybody inside of the UFC. I don't care how much hype you got on you. Muslim Salikhov versus Kenan Song. You know what? The fight was starting pretty competitive. Kenan Song actually landed some good punches on the feet, and then he decided to engage in the clinch and like shoot for a takedown after he touched Salikhov with clean straights. And then he kneed him in the balls. There's a break. They're back to striking. Salikhov spinning heel kick to the chin. Highlight reel knockout. One of the best knockouts of the year. Card filled with violence. That was crazy. Muslim Salikhov at 40 turned back the clock. They said that he hadn't fought in Macau in like 21 years since he was doing like karate competitions. It's crazy. He comes back and gets like a karate style spin kick knockout to the chin of Kenan Song. That was pretty sensational, man. Muslim Salikhov still got some speed. He grew his hair out. He looks younger again. Definitely taking some damage. You don't look like the picture here on Tapology anymore. Holy shit. Looks a lot more Gremlin-like these days. He's had a lot of wars. Keeps the fan interest high because that knockout was insane. At 40, the fact that he chins Song Kenan like that, I don't know. It's just surprising as hell. It's a wow. This card was surprising. This card is literally surprising card. That's what I'm calling it. A very surprising card. Like, if Salikhov wins a close decision, all right. But the fact he's spinning kicks Song in the first round, it's crazy. So precise, so clean. Like, you can see Song thought it was going to go to the body, and then it went up high and just starched him. Sick win from Muslim Salikhov. The king of Kung Fu, living up to the damn nickname. Next fight on the card, co-main event, Yan Xiaonan versus Tabitha Ricci. Like I said earlier, the over 2.5 was a part of the lock parlay, that in Ulberg. But the fight was Yan Xiaonan absolutely dominating Tabitha Ricci. She picked her apart for 3 rounds. Ricci had like a moment or so where she almost got in top, but nothing happened. I mean, Yan Xiaonan kept distance, touched her up well, got taken down like one time for a second, and then, Ricci lost position. Yan Xiaonan was able to scramble. Really, Yan Xiaonan caused the position to fail for Tabitha Ricci. That's probably better said. Yan Xiaonan's striking is nice. She picks shots really well. She's comfortable from the outside. She's slick. She's fast. She looked better than the fight against Wei Li even. I don't know. She turned the corner. She landed like a lead side kick at the end of the fight too to Tabitha Ricci's face, and she boxed her up. She busted Tabitha Ricci up. Ricci's been doing a lot of boxing, they say, with her boyfriend being undefeated boxer Callum Walsh. So she's focusing maybe too much on boxing. I think she needs more wrestling, because on the feet, she had nothing for Yan Xiaonan. Even as much boxing as she's doing, she couldn't really land much. There wasn't many significant shots from Ricci, whereas the opposite for Yan. She was landing a lot of clean strikes, picking her shots nicely, looking so smooth on the feet, powerful, terrifying, intimidating, scary, dangerous. She calls out Wei Li for a rematch after. Wei Li's supposed to be fighting Tatiana Suarez, but I don't think Yan Xiaonan is that far out of the title picture. I'm sure she's one fight away. She beats Tabitha Ricci up and then give her one more, she could be right back in the mix. For Tabitha Ricci, what's interesting is commentary said something about her wanting to take a break before this fight, but she couldn't refuse a big opportunity like this. It might be a mistake. I mean, she could come back a lot better. She knows now what she needs to work on to fight the elites, but the confidence level, getting whooped like that, that's rough, man. She got whooped like bad. I think she got whooped equally as bad or maybe worse than when she fought Manon Fiorot, but at least she considers, that was at 125. At 115 for Yan Xiaonan to beat her up in that fashion, damn, man. Tabitha Ricci, she's got to tighten up the boxing and get better at takedowns. I don't know if either are possible. She's in her prime right now. Yan Xiaonan at 35 has somehow improved and looks more primed today than before. I also think maybe for her fighting in China too, there was like extra motivation and she looked like extremely good. So massive win for Yan Xiaonan. She absolutely picked Tabitha Ricci apart. It was really impressive, and I think she is the best version of herself ever, but let's be fair. Tabitha Ricci turned out to be the perfect stylistic matchup. Shorter girl, not great boxing from the outside, not great wrestling. Good pressure, but not great wrestling. Good jiu-jitsu, but couldn't get it there. Good win for Yan. Main event. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the likes. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. This fight was really cool. It was a showcase of all skills. In round number 1, Deiveson Figueiredo had a moment where he kind of had Petr Yan's back, but then Yan is able to scramble, get on top, and control. I will say the takedown that Figgy landed to get the fight to the ground, an inside trip, was perfectly timed, extremely high level, and it was championship level. Petr Yan finishes the round on top, throwing some strikes. I believe they might have got back up to the feet at the end, but it's a little blurry now. Yan looked good in round 1, getting out of the best position that Deiveson Figueiredo could have had, which is nearly full back control. And Yan defends that. When they're dry, you know it's going to be trouble for Figgy as the fight goes on. Round 2, Yan's striking looks clean. Figgy's still having moments with the striking, though. Not completely outgunned, but he's outworked. He's got a volume disadvantage. Petr Yan is touching him with good shots. Petr Yan is slipping and moving really well. Petr Yan is picking his shots better than Figueiredo and landing with a higher level of accuracy. And he was just faster. It was not even about actually just speed. Yan was a lot faster and slicker. I believe round 4, there was a knockdown for Deiveson Figueiredo towards the very end. But Yan had been controlling pretty much that whole round. And even though there was that flash knockdown at the end, it wasn't a substantial one. And Petr Yan still was able to land a nice knee up the center and finish that round very strong. I still felt like Yan had done enough to win the round, even though he got stunned a bit. There was a couple of moments in the fight where Figueiredo caught Yan with big shots to the face or even big hooks to the body. Figueiredo was loading up and throwing massive power. Even in round 5, he was still trying to crack, but Petr Yan's technicality was a clean edge. And actually, Figueiredo landed an absolutely badass, I don't know the exact name. I guess outside trip would be the proper term, but like it looks like a ninja throw. We'll call it the outside trip that Petr Yan specializes in. We've seen him throw Aljo to the floor in their first fight with that. And it's an effective-ass technique. Got Figueiredo down, made it look dominant as he did it. It's like a brutal throw. And Petr Yan looked good. I think he looked as good as ever, looked fast as ever before. Mixing in takedowns, having control in the grappling, defending the grappling of Figgy. Figgy shot a lot of takedowns. Yan's defense was extremely on point. Figueiredo outmatched as far as the speed, the technicality in the stand-up, and dealing with a guy that can resist his wrestling threat, I think also kind of limited the stand-up threat as well. Petr Yan looked as good as ever at 31. I think he still has title potential. He's definitely still got title aspirations. Wins this fight 50-45. I thought it was 5 rounds to 0. The only round that is an arguable round, at least in my opinion, would be round 4. But I thought Petr Yan had controlled enough of round 4 to negate the quick flash knockdown that didn't seem to be a substantial knockdown. Not more of like it knocked you down, but you got right back up. Petr Yan's performance was that of somebody that's probably going to be mixing it up for a world title again. He looked championship level, and after the fight, he called out Merab Dvalishvili for a rematch, mentioning how Merab had called Deiveson Figueiredo the top contender, and he beat him, so give him the rematch. I think that's not going to happen. It kind of clears the way for Umar to fight against Merab next, but that depends on the UFC. They might be trying to push the Sean O'Malley-Merab rematch down our throats, which I think is unfortunate. I think Umar should get the shot based on the, win over Corey Sandhagen. But if not, Petr Yan getting a shot is cool too. Or potentially Petr Yan fighting against Umar. I know Umar was scheduled for Song. That's why I'm thinking of Song Yadong. I don't know, though. Petr Yan, the way he beat Deiveson Figueiredo, does that kind of negate Umar as the next guy in line? Just having to win over Sandhagen? It kind of does. But I feel like they're going to end up doing that O'Malley rematch for Merab. I'm seeing that. So the path to the top at bantamweight is not clear at the moment. There's a real possibility that the UFC desires to set up Petr Yan versus Umar Nurmagomedov and then like a true number 1 contender fight, because that would be as legit as it could get for a number 1 contender fight. This was close. There's an argument if Figgy would have won and won impressively, that then he could jump the line. And obviously Merab being so willing to fight him, it'd be easier for the UFC to make that happen. But because Petr Yan wins, I don't think the UFC is crazy about booking the rematch right now for Yan against Merab, only a few fights removed. And I think they're going to go the O'Malley versus Merab 2 route. I think especially now with Petr Yan winning. And I really think that in a perfect world, Petr Yan versus Umar happens is like the truest form of a top contender fight. And then regardless of what happens with O'Malley and Merab, the winner of that could potentially be next. Unless somehow, O'Malley pulled off a win and then wants to jump in weight. But that could get murky in the water. I don't know. I think in the perfect world, the top contender, the top contender, Petr Yan / Umar fight each other. We find out who's next. And in the meantime of that, O'Malley and Merab settled it. Even though I thought Merab deserved the decision. And you could just give Umar the title fight. But it's just his 1 ranked win is the argument Merab has. And I understand where it's coming from, though the 1 ranked win is massive. But here's where Petr Yan changes things. Because Petr Yan does have a win over Corey Sandhagen, which is the 1 ranked win for Umar Nurmagomedov, Yan then beating Figueiredo, who's also ranked, right? That's got to count for more. Beating Song Yadong in the fight before, puts his merit back into the top, back into the high level of the conversation, and being a former champ. So that's why I just think maybe stars collide where Umar fights against Petr Yan and we find out who has it. Because I'm really interested in that. For Deiveson Figueiredo, there's cool fights that he could still do. I don't know if the UFC would want to do it, but a Battle of Brazil, and we do Figueiredo versus Jose Aldo, could definitely be a fight to place on a card in Brazil. That is a massive matchup that could happen. Figueiredo could potentially fight a Song Yadong. I don't think that's crazy. Figueiredo could potentially fight a Corey Sandhagen. That's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm actually interested in Deiveson Figueiredo versus Sean O'Malley, but I'm not so sure they do it because I'm thinking they're going to give Sean that title fight, and I don't think they're going to force him to fight Figueiredo, who's then coming off of a loss to Yan. Who knows, though? As far as fights I would like to see for Figgy, O'Malley's definitely on that list. Jose Aldo on the list. I feel like those are pretty sensible next ones. Corey Sandhagen, maybe. For Petr Yan, I like the Umar Nurmagomedov fight. I would like to see who would win that. It's a cool clash. It's a fight for Umar against somebody who has very good wrestling defense, former champion, and clean striking. Even though Sandhagen has relatively good wrestling defense, right? His wrestling is not known to the level that I feel like Jan's ability is known for. And Yan beat him. Beat Sandhagen. So that would be a bigger win. That'd be a jump up in competition for Umar. That could solidify a title fight. So I think Yan versus Umar makes a lot of sense. We'll see what the UFC does. Overall, I consider it a masterclass from Petr Yan, picking apart Davis and Figueiredo, showing his durability, getting hit with some big shots by Figgy, but ultimately being able to deal with it, recover well, not any substantial moments. Like he touched the canvas, but they weren't substantial knockdowns. Touched Davis and Figueiredo's chin beautifully. You know what we learned, though? Figgy does have a 5-round gas tank because he did go all 5, and he's got an iron chin because Yan hit him with some masterful shots, and Figueiredo stayed on his feet. So, respect Figgy. It looked like he was going to get knocked out in round 3. He ends up going all 5. At the end of round 3, I didn't even mention it. He was getting touched up badly. He looked like he was done. But he comes back and goes the distance. Loses every round, but pretty gutsy effort, and I think still impressive in loss for Davis and Figueiredo, but Yan, exceptional tonight. Or I guess this morning, because the card was at 3 a.m. So, looking at the picks, I want to review Petr Yan for the W, perfect pick for me. The Ricci Yan fight, L for me, but the over was on point, and the over was part of the lock, so I guess it's also a W. Salikhov, Cong, L there. Wang versus Fernandes, L there. My God, I didn't realize all the L's. Ulberg versus Oezdemir, W. Mingyang, Zhang, W. So the lock hits with that. Mingyang, confident call hits. Loss with Balgan, but it's road to UFC. Hoon, Choi win. Loss, obviously, with Xiaocan. Hernandez, W. Kavanagh, W. Loss with my boy, fucking Quang. And then, obviously, my shot to L. So let's count. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it 6 and 7? Oh, that's a hideous record. We're counting again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 and 7. Well, if I delete road to UFC, take those 3 fights off, what is it? Takes 2 L's away. So what? 6 and 7 becomes 5 and 5. Without road to UFC, it's 5 and 5. Damn, man. Well, Lock City parlay hit, though, so I can't really be that upset. If the parlay comes through, I count it as still a W, of course, if you're really on the betting side going hard on anything. You know the Lock City parlay is what to cash. D-Gen shit doesn't come together this week, but it's all right. It was Macau. I knew it was going to be a weird card. It was 3 a.m., but it was a damn fun card. I'll tell you this. I had a lot of enjoyment being up that early. Like having to wake up. I got up at, what, 2:40 to do the stream? Slept like 4-ish hours. It was well worth it. This is one of the best fight nights of the year. I mean, it's like a 9 out of 10 card. I guess the only way it gets better is if maybe there's a finish in the Xiaonan fight. But Yan and Figgy going distance was good. I like 5 rounds of high-level shit. Like, it's a 9 out of 10 card. I can't say, oh, it's a 10 out of 10 because, you know, it always could be a little better. But no robberies on the card. Multiple violent knockouts on the card. Kind of disproving that the gloves are that big of a factor because dudes were getting it done with their hands. Spinning wheel kick from Salikhov. Devastating high kick from Ming. Cong Wang gets upset. Massive upset against Fernandes. This card was pretty damn crazy. And, yeah, I had a blast watching it. I hope you guys had a blast watching it too. Hopefully some of you guys enjoyed watching along with me. Thank you guys for tuning in to the post-fight show. I am about to get some rest, yo. I'm about to go sleep. So thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you all. Much love. Smash the likes on the way out. If you're new, subscribe it up. And W in the comments if you got nothing to say. Let me know what you thought down below. Appreciate you all. See you in the next one. Peace out.